Hello again. We are now going to start the second guest speaker, Everhard from Fresh Legacy. He will present X-analysis. Ray has dedicated his career to helping IBM I companies by assessing their applications and processes to help them improve IT. As product manager for X-analysis, he works closely with IBM I customers to understand their business goals and technical needs to drive innovation within the product suite. When he's not working with IBM I customers or the endless requests from marketing, Ray enjoys spending time with his family and searching for the recipe for the perfect cappuccino to share with his wife. Welcome, Ray, and
Thank you, Anna.
I will make you a presenter now.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I wanted to give you a little bit of information about Fresh Legacy. For some of you that may not have be aware of our company and what we have to offer. One of the key things that everyone is talking about and is concerned about is modernizing their systems, and we offer a number of tools and services to allow you to do that. But with any modernization project, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, what do I know about my system? So Fresh Legacy has been 38 years in business doing this kind of work, and we've got lots of years of experience within the suite of IBM I, as well as some other platforms. But we combine our tools with our services to help you in any way you want, whether you just want tools and training, or whether you want tools and assistance, or whether you want to completely turn the project over to us. We can help you in any of those ways. So we have a lot of customers across the world that we've worked with, and we break down our solutions into helping you to understand what you have, giving you tools to better complete the projects that you have in front of you, the ability to modernize your system, and we can also help you by backfilling some of your support positions while you're doing these modernization efforts. So we do operate globally, and we have a follow-the-sun support model, and we have presences in pretty much every time zone. So the suite of tools that we're going to talk about this morning is X-analysis, and what X-analysis is used for is to help you understand your system. Now, when you think of understanding your system, typically you think of a binder full of documentation that someone has written over the past years of the life of this product, and typically the first thing you want to look at is when that documentation was created, because the longer the documentation sits on the shelf without being updated, the less accurate it becomes. And typically as well, when you look at documentation, it's limited to a narrow focus, maybe just a particular project, or maybe when the application was first created. So there are some challenges when you think of hard copy documentation. We think of how time-consuming it is to create it, to maintain it. And from a developer's perspective too, if you bring in a new developer to your organization and you say, here are all of the binders with all of the information, go ahead and read them. Well, the developer is going to quickly have his eyes glaze over, and he's going to absorb that information very slowly as he goes through the books, because it's not the way that we've been trained to learn things. We've been trained to learn things and consume things by the internet. So we're used to following trails of information of what interests us and discovering things and moving around and organically discovering information. And that's what X-analysis is built to do. So we do allow you to print these reams of paper about your system to document it, but more importantly, we're designed to help you understand your system and to comprehend how things are not just built, but how they're related as well, so that you can uncover the object dependencies. So what we have here in the center of this diagram is the X-analysis professional, and I'm going to show you some of that today. And what that allows you to do is uncover the relationships and dependencies between objects in your system, and then we take that information and then allow you to start affecting your system with it. So the modules that you see around the outside of the ring here are all modules that allow you to do something to your system based on the understanding that you now have of your system. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to X-Analysis. And you'll see that it's running within the Rational Developer for iDesktop. It also runs under Eclipse. And what we have here is a list of options that are based on this particular repository or application that we've built. So the first thing I'm going to look into is what the data model diagram looks like for this particular application. So typically within an RPG or a COBOL program, all of the rules that define how tables are related are stored within the program rather than the database. Now, if those rules are defined within the database, then any data modeling tool will be able to expose them and see them. But you still can't see the ones that are expressed within the code. So what X-Analysis does is it looks not just at the objects, it looks not just at the database specifications, but we look at the source code, and we derive information from the source code. So you'll see all of these different tables are connected by these lines that show how things are related. You can see those relationships down this side window here. All of this information was deduced from the source code, the actual source of truth for these different relationships. So I can show that the representative field, the rep field, is used to tie these two tables together. So all of the information that you're going to see here in front of you is real-time, based on how often you refresh your repository. So you can scan your repository on demand as part of your normal change management cycle so that you're always looking at an up-to-date copy of the information. So within this particular view, we have lots of options that we can do. If I want to right-click on it, I can show all of the different sub-menus of things that we can do. And if I want to know what information is in this particular table, I can very easily open that up, and it will show me all of the different information about this. Now, as I'm looking down through this, let's just say in a particular use case here, I want to know where this field is used, because I want to make sure I know the full impact of changing this field, because it's not big enough anymore. I need it to go from 2 to 4. So if I right-click on this field, I can say, show me every place where this field from this file is used. I could also look for variable names, but in this case I want to start with the field. So I want to say, show me every place that this field is used and show me all the references to it. So now X-Analysis is going out to the repository, and it's gathering all of the places where that field is used. I'll take just a second for it to build. And you'll see on the right-hand side here, here's a list of all the places where that field is used. So this is the field we were searching for, XWBNCD. So here it is right here, and you'll see it gets copied right into this field on this statement. This is the program that it's in, this is the line number. And you say, well, this is good. It shows me that I have 67 different places that are going to be affected if I make this field larger. Well, what if I make this field larger? I also need to make this field that it gets moved into larger. So how would I find that? So this is called a level 1 search. I only show the information at the first level. I can expand that search, and I can say, show me every place where that field gets copied into. And that's a level 2. If I want to say, show me any places where that field, the level 2 field, gets copied into, that would be a level 3 search. Or if I want to see where it gets passed as a parameter to another program, I can track it that way. I can even track it if it gets copied from one program and passed as a parameter to another program, even if they don't have the same names. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on maximum tracking, and that will drill down in and show me every place that that field, the data in that field, gets copied into. So you'll notice here while that's loading, we've got different color coding. The red here indicates that this came from a DDS description. You see the purple here, that's a parameter description. So you'll notice that we went from 67 lines to 119 lines. So these are all the places that I would have to change, all the things that I would have to be aware of if I was going to make that larger. So that's the level of detail that we can go down into. Not only do we know how the objects were built and what components were used to put them together, but we can also uncover the relationships that are expressed by the created object. We can find out where these database relationships are, we can track fields as they go through, and we can discover how this application is built. So, and the discovery is meant to be organic. It's meant to be as you're looking through it, trying to understand things, you see something and you want to follow down that trail and see how that affects things. It allows you to easily do that, whereas a hard copy documentation, you have to kind of read the whole document before you can fully comprehend what's being presented to you. So if I wanted to look at this from a different perspective, instead of saying show me the fields and then show me where those fields are used, I can say show me every place that this particular table is used and how it's used. So I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to say show me a data flow diagram for this particular table. So what we're going to see right now, let me make this larger. What we're going to see now is the cust S table. I'm going to, at a glance, see what my access paths are. I'm going to see all the programs that use this table for input. And they're over here on the left. Any of the programs that use it for input and update are here. So you can see how they're all qualified and how they're arranged. If I'm curious about how that information is used, say in this particular program, I can click on the attributes. Okay, and I don't see any used there. Okay, so in this particular report, the fields that are being used from this cust table are the customer and the customer group field. So as I look down through here, I say, oh, this is a program that I'm interested in learning more about. What objects does this program use? The current display in front of you is a data-centered flow. If I click on the program, I'm going to change to a program-centered data flow. Now, let me just minimize this here. Okay, so now I'm working with the customer program. This is a work with customer screen, and I can see all of the files that are used for input. I can see how this program updates a particular table, and I can see the programs that are called as a result. So I'm seeing, okay, well this program calls a bunch of other programs. Well, I wonder if those programs call other programs. If I want to uncover the entire stack of programs that are called in this job stream, I can select a hierarchical structure chart. So a hierarchical structure chart is going to show me all of the programs, starting with this top program, and every program that it calls, and any program that gets called subsequently. So at a glance, I can quickly identify what things are going to be impacted if I make a change. So let's just say, for instance, I'm going to change this product master selection screen. So I know that it's used by the work with customer. If I scroll up here, I know that it's used by this program, but if I'm going to make a change, where should I test? What other usages are there of this particular program? Once again, I can right-click, and I can say, show me where this particular object is used. Show me all the references. Okay, so I see that it's work with details here. There's one other place that it's used. Let me go back to this screen here. And let's pick a little bit better example. If I pick this one, I'm going to say show me where this object is used, show me all the references, and I'll see multiple programs that this program is used in. But if I was going to test all of these programs, what I really want to know is what is my entry point? Where do I have to start my testing? I have to start my testing at the entry point of the program stack. So what I'm going to do here instead is say show me where the object is used, but show me the entry-level references. So now I have just quickly identified 12 places that I have to have test scripts set up for to navigate to that program I'm about to change. So this allows you to quickly understand your system and understand the impact of change to your system, and gives you a real quick way of taking information that we've uncovered and stored in the repository. The system is also set up to share this information. So anytime I want to get this information out, it's just as simple as clicking, and there you have, I can take all of the information. And then I can share it or annotate it or do whatever else I need to do with it. So you see where we can drill down in, we can discover things, we can quickly identify how things are organized. If I want to drill down even more to a more detailed level, I can look at the source code. So I can go down to the source level, and we provide you an enhanced view of the source. Once again, we color code it, but we give you a number of other different things as well to help you better understand how this code is related to other objects in your system. One of the things that we do is we give you the ability to indent the code if you want. We also have an option here that will convert what you have in front of you into pseudocode. So if you're looking at older style column-based RPG, this allows you to look at it in a little bit more English-like way of looking at the code. So I'm going to switch back to the normal source code view. We also allow you to do different diagramming. This particular program happens to be a workstation program. If I want to see what the screens look like that interact with this program, I can quickly identify what they look like. In addition to that, we also provide information about the fields that you see on the screen and where those fields came from. Let me just make this window here. We'll switch to... Okay, so on this panel here, we have a customer name, and that came from this field, XWBCCD, in the cust table. So it's very easy then for me to track starting with the screen. If I wanted to start with the screen, I could do that, find out where this information is coming from, and then move throughout and discover how this particular program is working. So the idea is that you can start with what you know and browse to find out what you don't know. And you can understand information at a very detailed level, or you can understand it at a very high level and understand all of the objects that are created together. So once you have application understanding, then you want to start grouping things together, because typically you're not going to look at one particular program. You're looking at a group of programs. You're looking at a number of different things that you want to affect or that you want to change. So let's say that I need to change something in this particular program, and I want to understand better what the impact of that is, and I want to understand better what kind of problems I might have associated with that. I can create something called an application area. And an application area allows me just to group to a subset of things. So what we're going to call this is test 1. And what that just did was created another node here at the bottom of the screen. And what I'm going to do is right-click on this and add it to an application area. But I'm going to add it with related objects. So I'm going to add that particular program to this application area, test 1. And I want to include all of the files that are updated by this program, because I'm going to make some changes and I want to do some testing. I need to know what files are going to be changed in the process of my testing so that I can create a copy of those and insert that in my library list. I also want to know all the programs that get called by this program, and I also want to know the files that are updated by any included program in my call stack. So I click OK. So if I had to do that manually, that would involve quite a bit of time depending on how deep the call stack actually was. So now I'm going to open up this test 1 application area, and you'll see that we have all of the same options. So if I want to see what the data model looks like for the application or the subset of the application that I've just created, I can click on the data model. And now I can see the programs that are going to be affected by that. Or I'm sorry, these are all the files that are in that group of programs and objects that are related. Now, these are all of the programs, or I'm sorry, these are all of the tables that are going to be changed. If I want to know all of the tables that are going to be used, then what I would do is I would say, show me the, oh, there it is. I want to show all of the objects that are related to these. So the blue ones are the ones that are outside of my application area. So I'm going to be reading information from these tables, but I'll be updating information from these tables, the ones in yellow. So now I have a list of things. I have a list of objects. If I come in here and say, show me the files, I can very easily say, these are the files I need to create copies of to put in my library. So there's a lot of different ways that we can take the information that we use, or we can take how we can use the information and to affect change on your system, to help you during your development life cycle. There's a lot of different automation tools that we also have. Typically, when I go through and show people this, it could easily be an hour and a half. But I wanted to kind of show you the highlighted portions of this. One other thing I will mention is all of the diagrams that I just showed you here can also be used to print documentation. So let me just finish with that. And what I can say is I want to mark these for Documenter. Now I can go through a wizard and I can say these are all the objects I want to document. And I have a bunch of options here. I'm going to create a PDF file. And I'm going to say show me the data model diagram, show me what fields there are, show me where it's used, and we'll show some screen layouts. And then we click on Next. So now it's going out and collecting all of the different artifacts that I just went through and showed you, and it's going to put them into a PDF document that's indexed for you to be able to find it. This is a great way to satisfy any documentation compliance requirements that you have, and you see it doesn't take very long to go ahead and create it. So while we're waiting for that, we've got a few minutes left here. Does anybody have any questions they would like to ask about X-Analysis?
Just a second, we have some questions indeed. It is possible to use X-Analysis and get all these impact analysis and documentation for non-IBM I applications, I mean in other platforms.
Okay, so let me see if I heard you correctly. Let me go back to my...
This is one of the questions we got in the chat box, because this is how we ask our attendees to ask the questions. So I will repeat. Is it possible to use X-Analysis and get all this impact analysis and documentation for no IBM I applications? I mean in another platforms.
Okay, so one of the modules that we have in X-Analysis is called Open Systems Analysis, and what we do is we build a repository similar to the one I just showed you, but instead of querying RPG objects or database objects on the I, we look at objects that are off of the I, so Java code, PHP, C#, and we take that information and we combine the repository that's built over that information with the repository that's built over the RPG COBOL code, and now we can give you a unified view over how objects that are on the I are used by objects off of the I.
Next question is it possible to use X-Analysis also for S36 components?
Absolutely. X-Analysis has been probably 28 years in development, and we started with System 36 code and have moved up, currently to the I. So we do support System 36 type code. We do have the ability to understand program-described fields. Obviously, you're not going to have the same level of understanding if you have your fields defined in multiple ways, and that's a whole problem with that environment. But we do have tools to move you forward away from that. So once we understand what that buffer looks like, we can externally describe it and automate some of that effort.
Another question is, can you talk about how you might integrate X-Analysis with Gravity? An example build a set of tasks in gravity from an impact analysis, or maybe that's a PDMS feature.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question. Could you repeat that for me?
Yes. Can you talk about how you might integrate X-analysis with gravity? An example, build a set of tasks in gravity from an impact analysis, or maybe that's a TDMS feature.
Well, gravity is going to allow you to create a workflow, and X-analysis could provide the list of objects that would be incorporated into that workflow. There are also some opportunities for doing interfacing at a different level. One of the modules that we didn't get into was this audit, quality, and change management module. And what that allows you to do is detect problems on your system. So one use of gravity would be that if you detect a problem, like say you have an object where the creation date is after the last change date on the source, you need to do an investigation of that. So once that problem is detected, it could be fed to gravity, and then a process could be executed that would resolve that problem. So that would be one way that you could do it.
And we will have a separate session on X-analysis and TDMS integration later on, Steve.
Okay, so thank you, Ray, for this great presentation and for the answers to the questions of our attendees. There are some more questions, so I think we'll get back to once we are finished with the sessions later on.